I have a finished bass. Is this all right there? So what I did with the fish, I actually got permission. The Derby, when they first put bass back in the Derby, they didn't want to give any big prize. And they were saying, you know, what can we give? So I said, well, why don't I can make a little fiberglass fish and we could put it on a shield and, you know, we can offer that for a prize. So the Derby was like, that's great. So I got permission. So since it's 20, well, at the time it was 36 inches for a bass. So I got permission from the state to keep one undersized bass. And oh my God, you'd think I was committing murder. You know, I had my little plastic bag and my little note from the state, and I was catching these undersized fish, and of course I wanted it to be just the most perfect size and shape so that I could make a mold of it. So I was able to make this mold. This mold is really old now. It's from, I don't know, let's say 96? 2006, I think it's older than that. So what I did with the fish, when I caught the fish, I put the fish in a bedding. It's called high fiber. And it takes a lot of time to just make sure you get the fish halfway in. Then I put a release agent on it. Then this is simplified. Then I pour a mixture of Bondo and fiberglass resin on top of the actual fish. And I let that dry. Then I flip it over, take the bedding off, and then the opposite side, do the same thing, put a coating on it, and then pour your fiberglass resin and molding, fiberglass Bondo and fiberglass resin, and then I would have like a fish that's sitting there rotting in this, and then you take it apart, take your fish out, and this is a mold. Okay. Oh yeah, I put little keys in there so that it matches up. And so what comes out of this, actually it looks like that in the beginning when I first take it out, because you can see I have little fin. I molded the fins. So I coat this, I use a butcher's wax to wax it all up. I have another release agent, and then I do a fiberglass layup on both sides, put a piece of wood in it, so you have the piece of wood, then close them up, and when you open it, you have something that looks like that. And then later, when I'm done with that, it ends up looking like this. So say if a customer came to me, say if you came to me and you said, Janet, I just caught a shark, can you do a certain shark for me? And if I don't have the mold for it, I would call a company somewhere in the United States and buy a blank. In fact, those two mahi-mahi, that's what I did with these, because I didn't have the mold for them. So that cost me $800 to get the blanks here. So when these came into my shop, they looked like that shark did.
So what you're mounting then is not the fish they caught?
No, it has nothing to do with your fish. You don't, you know, I don't want to see the fish. So it's a replica of their fish. But you know, I mean, fiberglass has its purpose. A lot of catch and release guys that don't want to take a fish now, you know, you could do a fiberglass reproduction for them.
And you can say, if someone can say to you, I caught a 42-pound bass.
Right.
Make me a...
Right. And there's enough companies around that that's all they do. They're not taxidermists, they're supply companies. But since this company is new that does these, I caught the fish and I sent it down to them in Texas. I froze it and sent it overnight. So it cost me $100 just to send it down overnight, frozen. And then they made a mold of it. So now they own the mold, and they sent me the first one out of the mold.
So that one is kind of a real fish.
Yeah, this is a real one for me. But now if a customer came to me and said I caught like a 30-some, what is it, I don't know, 28-pound fish, I could give them one of those.